where do you think the internal audit profession is heading? I mean, in the future, and how can internal auditors evolve as well, or should evolve eventually?
Yeah, the way, at least what I'm seeing where it's going and where it has been going is internal audit is just becoming another compliance function. So most of what a lot of internal auditors are doing is compliance. And in some organizations, that's great. That's what they need. But it goes contrary to a profession of what we think we're doing or we think we should be doing, right? And so, if we continue to only do compliance related projects, if that's all the value that the executives and boards see that we provide, then, we're just going to be a compliance function just like any other compliance function. That's the way that I see us heading right now. And I don't like that. I don't think most of the people in our profession like it either. But in order for us to change that trajectory, right? Because, for example, a lot of people with things like Sarbanes-Oxley or the equivalent internal control over financial reporting around the world. A lot of internal auditors picked up that, and that's a lot of what they do. Now, that's a compliance function. And I know some people in our industry thought, hey, this is great. Now our organizations need us even more. But the problem is they're needing us as a compliance function. And so if we want to change that, I think there's a couple of things that need to change. One is, we provide an important role in providing assurance. But there are other assurance functions in our organization as well, right? So I think the area where we can really provide the most value is to actually do more consulting work and more targeted assurance work. So like that example that I told you about, hey, there's an executive not really sure if the management report is accurate. Okay, let's target that. Let's show some value there. And what's interesting usually is the more consulting you actually do, the more assurance work people ask you to do. So it actually helps target, and we're still providing assurance, right? So I think that's one thing that we have to do better. The other thing is I think we need to stop believing that we are more important than we are. And we need to stop being so concerned about independence and objectivity. Now, again, this is going to make some people mad because, well, that's in the definition of internal auditing. I know it is, but most of us are not independent and most of us are not objective. That is an ideal state that I don't think as a profession we will ever actually get to. And so trying to believe that we're independent and we're objective. And I'll give you an example of this, right? Most people say, well, I'm independent. You can't tell me what to do. I decide what I'm going to audit. I decide how I'm going to report. I'm independent. I report to the board. People say that, but they don't really, right? Who approves your vacation? Who approves your compensation, right? Who fires you? Who hires you? And in most organizations, there are some that the audit committee does all of those things, but it's very few, right? So the first thing is we should probably realize or recognize we're not as independent as we think. The other thing is, and a lot of people say, well, okay, I understand that, but I have to maintain my objectivity, right? And objectivity is important when you're doing assurance work. But again, we believe we are more objective than we actually are. And this goes back into psychology and everything else. We ourselves have our own different confirmation biases. And we bring those biases to our work. And so believing that we're more objective than we really are, I think also puts us at odds with management. Because what we think is following the standards and being a good auditor and saying I'm independent and objective, to the other people that we're saying that to, it feels like we're self-righteous or that we're better than everyone else. And I think we have to push that aside and realize that we all work for the companies that we work for. We get paid by the companies that we work for. We're all on the same team. We have a different discipline. We have a different role within the company, but we need to realize and be a better team player, I think, within our companies. Or else, we're either not going to exist or we're just going to be a compliance function, just like everybody else.
Great. And in one of your sessions, you mentioned that most of the chief audit executives are not considered trusted advisors. Mm-hmm. So how did you conclude this, and what was, if you want, the base for this?
How do I believe that, right? And again, this is one of those things that I say that probably makes people mad. If you look at those two words, trusted and advisor, there are definitions around those, right? And authority is one thing that helps you to become trusted, but authority is not the only thing. So you can't say, look, I'm a CPA, I'm a CIA, I'm a member of the IIA, therefore you should trust me. Now, trust is usually developed over having experiences and developing a relationship with someone. So I see a lot of CAEs that, again, think, well, I have to be independent, I have to be objective, I'm not going to have relationships with other people. I can't be friends with other executives. Well, then they're not building those relationships. And if you don't have those relationships, you're not going to develop trust. So we like to say we're trusted, but I think most of us actually aren't. Okay, so that's the one word. The other one is advisor. And so again, a person who advises is someone who is asked their opinion, provides advice to other people. Now, again, if I'm doing this from a self-interest perspective and I'm providing you advice, right? Like, let's just say I come into your home and I start telling you how you should redecorate it. I'm providing you advice, but do you want me to tell you how to redecorate your home? Probably not, right? You're going to be like, I think I got that covered, right? I don't need help with that. So, it has to be advice that people actually want, which again is why I think risk-based auditing is so important and aligning with the objectives, because then we're focusing on the areas that the organization actually wants to hear about. But they also, again, we have that relationship. They trust us. They see us as an expert. But it's not just our authority. It's the social proof that others in the organization say, look, this group isn't so bad. They actually helped me do this, right? That social proof is going to give you more of that authority to where more of what you offer as advice is going to be more likely to be accepted. Okay. But it's also, it's people wanting that advice. So another kind of test that I give to chief audit executives is they'll tell me, okay, well, no, I'm a trusted advisor, right? Yep, I've got that down. So I ask them a couple of questions, right? Like, when was the last time an executive stopped by your office or sent you an email and asked for help? And if the answer is, I don't know, you're not a trusted advisor.